Hi, everyone. My name is Yin-Ting Zhang. I am the Research Services Librarian at the Robert Wood Johnson Library of the Health Sciences. In this session, I'm going to present on using My Bibliography and ORCID in SciENcv to create NIH and NSF Biosketches. I will give a brief overview of NIH Biosketch format and then NSF Biosketch format. I will talk about My Bibliography, and then I will also talk about ORCID, and then finally, how to use My Bibliography and ORCID in SciENcv to create biosketches. NIH Biosketch is required for NIH grant applications and progress reports. It is required for all senior or key personnel and other significant contributors. For project directors or principal investigators or the primary sponsors of fellowship applicants or primary mentors of candidates for doing career development, the ERA Commons username field is required. For all other personnel, it's not necessary. Do not include figures, tables, graphics, or other attachments in your biosketch. And try to describe the magnitude and the significance of scientific contributions to show that you are the best qualified for this project. Also try to provide detailed information about research experience in the context of proposed project. For more information on the details of NIH Biosketch format, samples, or detailed instructions, you may visit by clicking this link. The format of NIH Biosketch, the current format, has been used since 2015. The page limit for this format is 5 pages. 4 sections are included in this NIH Biosketch. In the A section, it's personal statement. In the B section, positions and honors. And then the C sections, which is probably the most important, contributions to science. You can list up to 5 contributions to science. And then for each contribution, you can add up to 4 publications or citations of interim research products. All these details, you don't have to remember how to format them. If you use SciENcv, SciENcv will help you to produce a formatted NIH Biosketch. So this session is showing you how to use this tool in combination with My Bibliography and ORCID to develop a NIH approved formatted biosketch. This slide has a lot of information, and it's included here so that you can refer back to if needed. And for more information, the link is listed at the bottom of this slide. So for each section, you need to provide the information. This A section is a personal statement. Be careful that to avoid the jargon and try to focus on clarity. Also for the citations, carefully choose the citations that are fully supporting your description of why you are most qualified. And then for the positions and the honors, list in chronological order. But if you are using the data from ORCID, lots of information might be automatically pulled from that tool, and I will show you later. For contributions to science, as I mentioned earlier, you can include up to 5 of the most significant contributions, and you can include a description and then attach 4 citations for each contribution. The contribution, I mean the citations for each contribution, adding all together, should not be longer than half a page. And also, you are allowed to cite interim research products, not necessarily just the published articles. Also important is to include an URL to all the publications that can be accessible in a governmental website. That's why My Bibliography is very important, because you can make your My Bibliography publicly viewable and then just include the link in the Biosketch. Section D is for additional information. So you can highlight the accomplishments, and this section mostly for reviewers to assess your qualification for your role and also the general qualifications of the whole research team. Next, I will briefly talk about the NSF Biosketch. NS has a newly approved format for Biosketch and also for current and pending support document. This is required for NSF proposals. It has been in effect for proposals submitted or due on and after October 5th last year, 2020. The number of pages for NSF Biosketch is 2 pages, shorter than the NIH one. It is required for senior personnel. All those individuals who are identified as senior personnel need to include this NSF-Approved Biosketch. The information that should be included in your Biosketch is professional preparation and appointments, products. Products is similar to the contribution to science in the NIH Biosketch, and then synergistic activities. Just bear in mind that if your Biosketch is not in the approved format, it will not be uploaded, and it will also it will result in return of your proposal without being reviewed. And please also do not include the personal information in the Biosketch. To create an NSF-approved formatted Biosketch, you have 2 ways. One is using SciENcv in combination with ORCID and My Bibliography to develop that. You can also download an NSF fillable PDF template and then create one. But using SciENcv is very easy, and once you have one, you can use that existing one as a template for future use. This session is focused on using SciENcv in combination with My Bibliography and ORCID. This slide is on create a NSF-approved format for current and pending support. NSF required information in approved format on all current and pending support for ongoing projects or new proposals. And just like the NSF Biosketch, this requirement also went into effect for new proposals submitted or due on and after October 5th, 2020. Also, just like the Biosketch, you have 2 ways to prepare the NSF-approved CPS, either using SciENcv or using the NSF fillable PDF. In the next few slides, I will talk about My Bibliography in NCBI. First, NCBI is the National Center for Biotechnology Information. This platform provides access to biomedical and genomic information. There is an account that you can sign up for. It's called My NCBI. This is a free toolbox that the researchers and the scientists can use. One of the tools is called My Bibliography, and My Bibliography will be comprised of all your scholarly works, and it can also be used to manage NIH public access compliance. You can delegate someone else to do these for you. I will show you that in the demo later. And then SciENcv is another tool that is also embedded in My NCBI. So this is a researcher profile system, and researchers use this to create NIH Biosketch, NSF Biosketch, and NIES, Institute of Educational Science Biosketch, etc. There are other tools in NCBI, but they're not going to be covered in this session. If you link your NCBI with ORCID, then you can take the data from ORCID to create biosketches in SciENcv. To log into NCBI, you have many access points. In my case, most of the time I was accessing through the login link on the upper right corner of PubMed. You can find that link in the SciENcv website or the NIH Public Access Policy website, or probably research.gov and other sites. There is something new coming. The login will be changed in June 2021. So basically, if you connect your NCBI with other accounts, such as EIA Commons or Google account or Facebook, etc., you can using those login method. In my case, I choose our institution, so I can just log in using the Rutgers NetID. And once you chose that one, next time you log in, it's appearing on the top. And then you just click it and log in. This is a screen capture of my NCBI dashboard. So you can see there are several boxes. Each box is a separate tool. So My Bibliography on the left side, on the right side is Save the Searches. You can move these boxes wherever you want to. And then to add references into the tool My Bibliography, there are basically three ways. You can save the search results from PubMed and then add them into your My Bibliography directly. You can also upload a file, like a RIS file or Medline file, and then directly upload them into My Bibliography. This might be more useful for those researchers whose discipline is not necessarily heavily health sciences. Most of your articles might be indexed in other databases than Medline. So then in this case, you can just upload them in this format. And finally, you can add your references into My Bibliography manually. This might be particularly helpful for unpublished literature, gray literature. If you have an interim scholarly work or a preprint, you can add them manually. As I mentioned earlier, My Bibliography is a tool that can also be used to manage NIH public access policy compliance. On this slide that you show, if you see something red, that means you need to pay attention to that and take action, whether it is NIH supported result, or if it's not, you just need to to change the status so that the color will be changed. If it's funded by NIH, then you say yes, and then you have to enter the grant number and the details of the grant, and then it will become green. So next few slides, I will talk about ORCID. ORCID stands for Open Researcher and Contributor ID. ORCID is an organization. ORCID provides a unique identifier called ORCID ID. The ORCID ID is a unique digital identifier that distinguishes a researcher from other people who have same or similar names. The ORCID ID contains 16 digits, and it is required by many stakeholders for researchers to include. For example, funders, now they would like you to keep many of the funders. I will show you in the next slide, you'll see. And then the publishers require you to use the ORCID ID when you submit your manuscript, and other stakeholders like your institutions or other research organizations. You can add a delegate to work on your profile in ORCID. So as I mentioned, that ORCID ID is being required by more and more stakeholders. In 2019, NIH, AHRQ, and the CDC announced that individuals supported by research training or fellowship or research education and the career development awards, they are required to have ORCID ID beginning fiscal year 2020. So it is important to have an ORCID ID. Rutgers University Libraries have a website on ORCID ID and how to work with your ORCID. And Rutgers is one of the institution members in ORCID. So when you are an institutional member, you can connect ORCID with your institution's NetID. And to connect your NetID with ORCID, you can go to personalinfo.rutgers.edu and then click the ORCID tab. From there, you can either link an existing ORCID ID to NetID, or starting from scratch, create your ORCID ID and then connect to Rutgers NetID. If you have any questions regarding this, you can contact us anytime. And this is to show you when your ORCID ID is connected to NetID, then the ORCID ID will be displayed in your Rutgers directory listing. And also, once you're connected with Rutgers, when you log into ORCID, you can use the Rutgers NetID to log in. To go to ORCID, you go to orcid.org and then sign in. It will have an option to sign in through your institution. So as long as you have your two IDs connected, you should be able to log in to ORCID through your Rutgers NetID. And you can link your ORCID profile to multiple external trusted organizations, as well as a trusted individual as a delegate. So you just enter that person's email and then search, and that person needs to accept, and then that person will be working on your profile, help you to populate the information into your profile. To add information in your ORCID profile, so first, as I mentioned, you need to have an account and log in, and then these are the sections in your profile that you need to populate the information, add the information into these sections. The most important part to me is the work section. This is your scholarly scholarly works listing area. You can import these from different sources, for example, from Scopus. As long as you have articles published in indexed in Scopus, then you should have an ID, and then you connect them. So next time you click the new articles that you published and indexed in Scopus will be automatically added into your ORCID. And you can also add manually. To add manually, there is a template. You just fill in the blanks. And also, I believe you can upload a file, possibly in this or and other tab delimited, I forgot. So you need to check it out. This brief one-sheet handout we created for our researchers to add scholarly works into their ORCID profile. There are basically, we said 2 ways. You can automatically add, and then you can add manually. The slide shows you my profile. So this is a public view, but I probably have more information. Some you just make it private, and some you can make it a public. So the public view will be displaying whatever you choose to. And in the biography section, you should put a brief biographic notes. I just put the link leading to another profile that has a lot more information. And then the employment section, the education or academic background, and the scholarly works. In between, there are also associations that you are a member or provide services working as an officer. You also have a section for funding or awards. So I only captured the first and the end part. This slide is on SciENcv. So I'm going to talk about SciENcv now that you understand my bibliography and the ORCID. And you should have those in place first, and then use the SciENcv to create a biosketch. SciENcv stands for Science Expert Network Curriculum Vitae. It is a tool for researchers to create biosketches. It's also a profile system, and it is a profile system for all researchers who are funded by federal agencies. In the SciENcv, you have several sections to add information into. And once you have ORCID populated, a lot of information will be poured from ORCID directly. You don't have to re-enter. But if you don't have an ORCID ready, and you already have an existing a biosketch in SciENcv, you can use that one as template also. Yes, you can create multiple biosketches in SciENcv. So to develop a biosketch in SciENcv, you log into NCBI, and then in the dashboard on the right side, you will see a box at the bottom, and then you click a link to create a new biosketch. Then you will be prompted to enter the information or to pull the data from external sources, or just start from scratch, or you use an existing biosketch to develop a new one. So SciENcv is in NCBI, so is My Bibliography. So for My Bibliography, you don't have to do anything. It's already connected to SciENcv. It is ORCID that you need to take an action to connect ORCID to NCBI in order for ORCID to be available in SciENcv. This screen capture to show you how to create an NIH Biosketch. So once you click create a new document, you will be prompted to enter the heading, the metadata for every Biosketch. So on the top is the name of your Biosketch and what kind of Biosketch, and then also what source you're going to use. Are you going to create it from scratch, or you are going to base it on an existing one? So in this case, I chose an external source by choosing ORCID. And then you click create. A template will be ready for you to fill in the information. So this one, again, it's NIH Biosketch. I noticed that in NIH Biosketch, lots of information from ORCID is not necessarily migrated. And so you need to manually add. And don't worry about the order, because you are automatically formatted by the system. So in NIH, for employment or appointments, it's listed chronologically from the old date to present. But I believe in NSF, it's reversed, the most current one first. But anyway, you don't have to worry about that because the system will handle that. Once you have all the sections filled out and then you have the Biosketch ready, you can download as either PDF or Word. I would choose Word because in Word, you can do more tweaking, editing in case you spot any error, and then you save as PDF. So NIH Biosketch has this option, but in NSF Biosketch, you cannot download in Word. You can only download in PDF. So this one is showing you the C section of NIH Biosketch. So in this section, you can add up to 5 contributions. And for example, this is the first contribution. You can add a description of this contribution in the context of your research projects or your research background. And then you add citations to support that claim. The citations can be added from My Bibliography, which is by default in there because it is in NCBI too. This ORCID, only after you connect it to NCBI, then it will be listed here. So you can only choose up to 4 citations. If I pick more than 4, the system will alarm me that you cannot do that. You can only do 4. Once you have all these chosen, if you have enough contributions, yeah, list of 5, but it's also okay if you don't have 5. Many junior researchers may not have that many accumulated. So you can do 3 or 4. And once you're done with the contributions, look at the bottom of that part. You can click link, but make sure your bibliography, the My Bibliography, is made publicly viewable. Otherwise, that link won't be generated. In the live demo part, I will show you. So this slide shows you how to create an NSF Biosketch. So you can, the same thing, by clicking a new document, then create a new document, you will be prompted to this screen. You will give a name of the Biosketch and you choose what kind of format. And then you can also choose the source like you did for NIH, and then click create. Once you do that, the template will be displayed. Before I move on, I would like to say one word about the NSF current and appendix support. if you choose that one to create the CPS document, you don't have an option to pull the data from ORCID. So you pretty much create from a blank based on just from scratch. So, okay, let's see the next. So this one shows you how I pull the data from ORCID. So you can tell like more information is pulled for the NSF Biosketch than for the NIH. And here the products already have there. I just need to link citations. If you click like select the citations, My Bibliography and ORCID will be displayed. And then the synergistic activities, it also need to be filled out. Then you have to, so this information is actually pulled from my ORCID. I did not manually add it in. So once you're done with your NS Biosketch, you download in PDF only. And this is going to be included in your grant proposals. And this is the product section that I want to show you that once you click, select the citations, you will be seeing the tabs for My Bibliography and ORCID. Again, because I connected my CBI with ORCID, so that's why it's there. And this screen shows NSF current and pending support. So you choose the NSF, the CPS option as a format, and then you will see this template. And then for each section, you just need to fill by adding the information in the blanks. Lots of information needs to be covered. I provide a list of useful links that you can visit or to learn more. If you have any questions, please do contact us. I'm going to stop the recording here for this presentation, and this next part will be live demo.